Hi everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to create a tag, and what I like to do with those tags, the MDF ones, is to add at the back magnets, and then I stick them on my fridge to decorate my kitchen. But in any case, you can definitely hand them out as gift tags, you can decorate your house or even as ornaments. So I'm going to use rice paper to stick on top of that MDF piece, and just because it is brown, I want the background to be white so that the colors of the rice paper are going to pop. That's why I am covering pretty much the whole thing with acrylic paint. I'm not going to be very precise, you see I just leave the edges. I am going to use my heat gun to make sure that this layer of paint is completely dry. And then I'm going to use a part of this rice paper to cover my tag. Now these rice papers are quite big, and I made sure when I designed them that they have different areas for you to choose from. So I'm picking the part where you see there are more letters on top, but you will find that in the same rice paper you will find branches, you will find flowers. Just choose whichever area you like. Now I'm going to stick that on top with rice paper glue. So I'm going to apply a layer of rice paper glue on my tag, then stick the rice paper on top, and what I like to do is to cover the rice paper also to seal it down with the same glue, the rice paper one. I'm not going to bother at all about the hole up at the top. The rice paper is so thin I can always get that hole back just by poking it inside. Now, all the products that I'm using today are from my new collection Dewdrops, but of course you can recreate something similar with what you have at home. I am just trying to show as many ideas as possible with the new collection, and at the same time to showcase all the different products that are included in the collection. I'm going to do some stamping, and I will use stamps from my latest stamp set. This is called Mixed Media Backgrounds, and it gives you all the textures that you need to create visual interest on your background. So here I picked one of the text stamps, and I'm just stamping at the back with permanent black ink. I am going to choose one more just to mix them together. I always like to stamp kind of in a cluster way. So you see I'm stamping with a circle stamp where I did stamp previously with the text. That's just the way that works for me. And here is one of my latest stencils. This is going to give you many areas of branches and leaves. I'm going to pick one of those areas, and I'm just going to apply volume paste over it to add some extra texture on my background. You can definitely use other colors of modeling paste. I like the white volume paste because I like my backgrounds to be more subtle. I still want to have that visual texture and the actual texture, but I don't want them to be very busy, so that I can help the focal points pop even more. Now here is a close-up of how my tag is looking at the moment. I need to leave that aside for that volume paste to dry. It takes about 5 minutes to dry. I didn't add too much, it's not that thick. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a look at the focal points. So since this is a mixed media tag, I can go as dimensional as I like, and I'm going to play with the wooden shapes. So this is printed wood. You just pop them out and it gives a lot of dimension. I'm going to go for a really dimensional tag today. And that's what I love about tags. Usually I work very flat on my journals or on cards, and they do have to be quite flat for the book to close or for the card to go inside an envelope. So I really have lots of fun when I'm playing with very dimensional projects. Now I popped some of the elements out, and I'm just going to play around and decide what looks nice, what looks balanced, and once I'm happy, I'm going to go ahead and stick everything down. So for these type of projects, I like to use my hot glue gun. I find that it is the easiest way, and it gives me really quick results. And you can see how I balance the birdhouse on top of the other clusters so that I give even more dimension. I am going to add the little bird on one side. And sometimes I like those elements to go outside of the tag. I think that it makes it look more interesting. And I absolutely love building up layers upon layers. So you see here on this point I have 4 different layers. Or maybe 5, I don't know. Probably on top of that branch I do have 5 layers altogether. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and add a sentiment. Now I felt that this wasn't balanced with the rest of the composition. It is quite big. This is one of the sentiments that I poked out of the wooden shapes. So I decided instead to use one of the elements from the pattern paper. So I'm just going to cut out the same thing but out of paper. This is slightly smaller and I think it's going to look more balanced on my composition. So with my scissors I'm going to fray the edges just to give it more interest, and then I'm going to stick it on top of my tag by using some foam squares at the back. This way I do have dimension on my sentiment as well. So although Dewdrops, my new collection, does have lots of elements for winter like snowflakes and such, you can see that you can easily create something that doesn't give the winter vibe. This smells like spring to me more than anything. I'm going to poke the whole bag at the top of the tag, and this way I can thread through some ribbon. And in my collection I do have 4 different designs of fabric. What I like to do with the fabric is to tear off strips and create my own ribbon. This makes sure that the ribbon matches all the colors of the collection and they are perfect for the projects that I am creating. Now another thing that you can do with those, if you want some extra ideas, is to cover up journals or cover your albums. They do give a lovely texture. So that's how I like to tear off the ribbon. It gives me frayed edges, which I absolutely love, extra texture for my project. I don't need to use the whole thing, I'm just going to use half of it. Thread it through the hole up at the top of my tag, and then I'm going to use a string and tie it around as a bow. I like to use my reverse tweezers to hold the ribbon in place as my third hand so that it makes my life easier. Now it is almost impossible for me to call a project done if I don't add some white splatter, so that's what I'm doing here, but it's definitely optional, you don't have to do it. And of course, because white splatters are never enough, I'm using my Iridescent contour liner to add some dots here and there. I feel like they add that extra whimsical touch on my tag. So that was the project for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Links to everything I used can be found down below in the description area, just like always. Here are some close-up photos where you can see the details better. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time.